What's up, YouTube? Have you ever wondered if trying to be original is hurting your creative work? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. Welcome back. My name is Ben Nielsen. I'm a media design educator, and today we're talking about a concept and an idea that's been on my mind lately. And this is going to be a little bit different. This isn't a tutorial and it's not a review. It's really a conversation about the creative process and trying to make things that are original and how that might be harming us. And so I don't have a script for this video. I don't have it really well planned out. I just have a couple of ideas that have been bouncing around in my mind for a while. And I want to have this be a conversation. I want to hear your thoughts about this and the originality of design or other types of creative work. So as a creative, I feel like I have a real tendency to always strive for originality. And I'm always trying to do something that I feel like will be unique, will be different, and not be like something that anybody else has done. I think I try to steer clear of looking at other people's work and trying to like mimic it. And I think that that's something that a lot of creative people struggle with, because we do all have this drive and kind of this myth of originality that truly great creative people spring something from nothing. And I say that's a myth because I really don't think it's true, even though I find myself believing it all the time. There's really three reasons that I think trying to be original is a problem for me and probably for you. And the first one is that it wears you out. When you're trying to be original, when you're always trying to do something new, that process really wears down your creativity. And so you can experience burnout when you're trying to do that all the time. And so it's not useful to try and do something that's completely new, something that's nobody's ever done before. This is really hard, especially if you're working in a space like YouTube. Pretty much every video has been done. There's tutorials on most things already, right? And so when you're looking for something that hasn't been done before, that's pretty hard. For example, this series that I've been doing on Affinity Photos tools, I'm not the first person to do that. And so it was kind of, I didn't do that for a while because Affinity Photo is more popular than Affinity Designer. I'd done Affinity Designer already. And so doing Affinity Photo, I was like, well, people have already done that. But I knew that I could, bring my style and my spin to it. And so I decided to do it because that felt original enough for me. But it really kind of holds me back when I try to be so original and not do anything that anybody else has done. The second reason is it's not actually possible. So it's not possible to do something original, so you aren't going to reach that goal. And so striving for an impossible goal can be really wearing on you and your mental health. So this kind of goes with the first one, but it's just not possible because all art is derivative and all design is reactionary. And that's the way it's pretty much always been. As long as there was an artist or a designer coming before you, you were going to be derivative in some way, you were going to be reactionary in some way. We've all consumed so much in the way of art and media that is in our culture and in our brains and in our subconsciousness, that of course it's going to influence us. One of the primary principles of design that I talk about all the time is repetition, and then of course the other one is contrast. And those two things make it so it has to be derivative and reactionary. That's how the world works. Is your piece of design or your piece of art or your creation lives in a world with other things, and some of those things will be repetitive so that they can be understood in the culture, and some of those things will be in contrast so that they make a point and a purpose in the culture, but it's always going to be derivative and reactionary. And so since it's not possible, it's not a useful goal to try and be original. Now, what I'm not talking about here is doing plagiarism, right? I'm not talking about ripping off another creative's work and pretending that it's your own. You should be doing your own work, but it's really useful to see other people's work and be inspired by it. And often, especially if you're not going to go sell it, to mimic that work. Because the third reason that trying to be original is hurting you is it's hurting your learning. And this is something that I've experienced because my subconscious self tries not to do something that I've seen done before. And that stops me from learning how those people did what they made, So it holds you back, because one of the best things you can do when you're trying to learn design is to look at something someone else has made and say, how did they make that? How could I make that? This is something that I've tried to kind of do, but I come into conflict with myself on, because I like to do these tutorials where I look at a tutorial someone else has done, maybe in Photoshop, or recently I did one that piece of art that was done in actual physical letterpress, and I try and recreate those in the Affinity programs to see if it can be done, to see how it can be done. And that's a really, really useful exercise for learning, to look at something someone's done and say, can I do that too? Can I make something that looks like what they made? Can I go through that? And obviously that you don't want to go then and sell that. You don't want to rip it off, even if you've recreated it yourself. But looking at somebody's work that you admire and then trying to recreate it, that is really helpful for your learning. And it's something that I want to try and do more of, is look at other people's stuff and see if I can follow what they've done and see if I can recreate their work, because that will help me to learn new techniques. Because when you have that goal that you're driving for, that thing that you've seen somebody else make, that causes you to think about your tools in new ways and say, wait, how could I do that? What could I do that would make that possible? And so those are really the three things that I think are holding you back in trying to be original. 1, it wears you out. 2, it's not possible. And 3, it hurts your learning. You won't learn to be as good a designer or an artist as you could be if you're always trying to focus on being original. Everything is coming from somewhere. That's just the way that we live and the way that the human mind works. And so just remember that all art is derivative and all design is reactionary. And then go out and make something. And of course, put your own spin on it. Find your own style, but you need to try out a lot of different things before you discover your style. And your style will evolve over time, and your style is likely to look like somebody else's style. It can't be completely unique. This has always been one of my struggles when working with photographs in Lightroom. There's only so much you can do, and you can create a style that looks like your own, but it's probably going to look like somebody else's style out there. And so that's one of the things that has held me back in photography specifically, is not wanting to look like other people, even though I might admire the way that those people's pictures look. I need to kind of get over that and do it. And then if you are a designer out there and you see your style being reflected in other people's style, if they're not stealing your work but they're just reflecting your style, take that as a compliment, because remember that imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. If somebody's imitating you, it's because they admire what you're doing and they're being inspired by your work. And honestly, that's why you're doing creative work, right? Is to inspire other people. So that's just kind of my thoughts on this idea of originality in design and in art. And I would love to hear your thoughts about this. I would love to hear if this is something that you've struggled with, if it's something that you've overcome, or if you disagree with my points here. I would love to hear that as well. So please go jump down in the comments and show me that. Now we will chat in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around to the end. If you have, just a quick word here that I just want to remind you about my courses, which are down in the description here. As you may know, ad spend is down across the internet, and so we're seeing less and less revenue from YouTube right now. So if you want to learn something and also support this channel, a great way to do that is go and click through on my courses so that you can go to Skillshare and take those. And of course, if you want some other way to support the channel, you can always go ahead and hit that thanks button.